What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today we're going to talk about the truth. Most of this video will be clips that I put together to explain the truth, because in the age of information, we as human beings are being forced to confront the truth and deal with it once it's out for everybody to know. And the truth is, there's a certain group of people that show a consistent behavior no matter where they are geographically on this planet. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's talk about us African people. Cultural continuity that we have is anybody, you can ask anybody from any other race something about black people, they're probably going to say, we dance great, we sing great, we're great athletes, we're strong, we're powerful. They'll say most of them say when they come into our communities, we're very nice and welcoming, right? There's a consistent cultural consistency throughout African people, no matter what ethnic group you're a part of, no matter what nationality you claim. As Africans, we have a consistency with our culture. Just like another group, Europeans have a consistency with their culture. They consistently steal other people's religions or make up a religion, and they will fight tooth and nail for their fantasy. For some reason, they do this. They did this in South Africa, right? Where they now are claiming to be African. They want you to identify them as being African, and they don't want to connect. They don't want to be Dutch. They don't want to be French. They don't identify with their actual race and their actual homeland. They want to claim Africa as their homeland as a group of people, even though they were colonizers, right? Same thing in New Zealand, where they pretend to be Polynesian, and you see them doing the hockey dances and all the football games and rugby games, right? You see them do it in America. They're the first pretendians, pretending to be Native Americans, taking all the benefits of Native Americans. I mean, you name it, they will be it, right? And we also see it in the Middle East, where they decided to pretend to be a mythological group of people that never existed, in the capacity which we see it. And they would even go as far as to kill and commit genocide in order to, make their fantasies come true, because they don't want to face the truth. But the thing is, the age of information, guys, we're all figuring out the truth. Anybody who didn't know, they now know. Those Europeans, those Eastern Europeans that's over there in the Middle East right now, pretending to be something that they're not, are right now committing what we would consider apartheid by all definitions of the word. Now, was there, I would guess say, was it justified what they did? They did get attacked by a group of people, right? But, the way politics works, the way I know, the things that I've seen what happens when an organization uses what they call they prop up their own opponent. They allow their opponent to do certain things so they can be justified to do what they want to do, right? Like I said, as a United States Marine Corps special operator who've been on special missions, I've seen the inside of what it is that America really does while they're showing you what they want you to show you on TV. I've been on patrol with I've worked with and was in charge of Taliban fighters while looking for other Taliban fighters to kill. You understand? I've done that, me. All right? I have seen how politics works and what America really does behind the red, white, and blue flag that we all hug and act like this Superman's cape. All right? So I don't think I really need to say too much more. I'm going to post this video and you watch it to the end. And just know, one day, the truth, that's one good thing about the truth. Truth is like water, right? You can't stop water from entering. No matter how much you try to seal things up, no matter how dry you think you're going to be, eventually that water going to make its way through. And the truth will make its way through. And the thing is, the more human beings on this planet start to know the truth, that these Eastern Europeans, these Russian and Ukrainian and Polish people that were transplanted by the British in America to the Middle East to displace a group of people who were already there, right? Creating the world's biggest prison outside of America's industrial prison complex, right? That's the biggest prison on the planet. right? And we allow these pretend people to do all manners of atrocities while the news organizations that they own are telling us that we should be on their side, telling us that the only people we should have empathy for are the ones that's playing pretend on their side. Okay, we shouldn't have any empathy for the brown people. Not at all, no empathy. The same people who empathized when Russia invaded Ukraine's sovereign territory have absolutely no problem with Israel invading Palestine's sovereign territory, creating their own rules, violating all international accords to do what they want to do so they can expand their territory and continue to play pretend. But the thing is, in the age of information, people playing pretend are being canceled. Now it's going to take a while, decades. It takes decades for ideologies. It takes decades for massive change to happen in societies, right? But mark my words, eventually playing pretend will be, it won't be conducive for anybody's survival here in the future. Because in the age of information, truth, fact, and logic will eventually win the day. Because when people know, when they know better, they do better. And there's people who's knowing better, and they're about to be doing better. And all those people playing pretend and is willing to kill and murder for it, their time is coming up. Now, am I on the terrorist organization's side that decided to make the attack? No. Because guess what? They don't care about their people either. Because if they cared, they wouldn't have did this. Because they knew by going in here and poking the bear that the bear was going to come in there and scorch earth. Because that's consistently, with a cultural continuity, what Europeans do. They will scorch earth. They don't care about each other. Because they've always been at war with each other. They always talk about Africa and how Africa, they be having war. Well, we ain't got nothing on Europe. Europe has never not been at war with each other. And when they're not at war with each other, they'll go to war with anybody else brown and take their stuff. Their culture, their people, their stuff, their identity, everything. That's what they do, all right? So anyway, nature will course correct that. But yeah, I'm not on the side of Hamas, because Hamas, they ain't shit. They propped up by the very same people who they're fighting right now. Right? They don't care because their families are not in Gaza right now. Their families are not gonna have to deal with any of this because they moved their families. Matter of fact, the ones that started this are not even there, right? They're gonna let the peasants do all the killing and dying for them. But anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna attach this clip, learn something, teach something, I'm out.
Global black solidarity for Palestine without discussing black Palestinians or Afro-Palestinians themselves. Some Afro-Palestinians trace their roots to the land as far back as the 12th century and are descendants of Muslim pilgrims who went to Mecca for Hajj and then settled in Jerusalem. Others are the descendants of those who migrated from places such as Nigeria, Sudan, Senegal, and Chad. Some of them came to Palestine specifically to fight against British colonialism and Zionism.
The second, third, fourth generation, if you ask us to identify ourselves, we say we are Afro-Palestinians. We were born here, we grew up here.
The community is deeply rooted in Jerusalem, with a long history of involvement in the Palestinian liberation movement. Ali Jidda is a leader of Jerusalem's Afro-Palestinian community, who served 17 years in Israeli prisons as a member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
بعد ما كنت في نقطة التفتيش وضربتني الضابطة، انتقلت في السيارة عانيت من عدة ألفاظ عنصرية زي عبده، لونك ولون واحد، واشياء كتير بشعة بسبب لون البشرة. يعني تعرضت لألفاظ عنصرية من قبل أحد اللي نقلوني وهو ضابط من ضباط الاحتلال بسبب لون البشرة.
This video is a reminder that no group is safe under the Israeli occupation. Keep that in mind.
عندكم مشكلة مع لوني؟ هيدا خلقة الله. انتو هيك صارت مشكلتكم مع.
Oh my gosh, folks, I absolutely love the way Black people in North Africa and the Middle East are standing up most recently and showing how insane it is that those who are indigenous to those lands are often not even included in the global imagination of what people in those areas look like. And even those who have been there for ages are still not given human rights on a consistent basis just because they might be ethnic minority. And this is the beauty of both traditional media and social media. Fights for recognition, equal opportunity, equitable governmental care, and the like are on full blast nowadays. But what hits home for me is that there's no need for diaspora wars, guys. Black people unite and let's all get down, like they used to say. Then we will finally be able to bring the legacy of theft and colonialism to a long overdue conclusion.
Under the new version of the law, non-Jewish migrants can be arrested on sight and held in prison without trial for 3 years or more before being deported. Or of hundreds of state-appointed rabbis, including some of the premier religious authorities in Israel, who issued a letter forbidding Jews from renting apartments to the African asylum seekers and any other non-Jews.
מיליון פיליפינים, 2-3 מיליון סינים, ושלום על ישראל.
למה זה מאיים שיהיו פה עוד מיליון אפריקאים?
זה מאיים כי לא תהיה פה מדינה יהודית.
אתם רוצים לעזור לאפריקאים, תיסעו לאפריקה. אתם רוצים לתת להם אוכל, לכו תיתנו להם שם. זאת המדינה היהודית היחידה שיש לנו.
אריתריאה וסודאן זה לא כאן. כאן זה הבית שלנו, כאן זו המדינה שלנו.
Minutes after the rally, 1,000 Israelis rioted, attacking African homes and businesses and assaulting any African they found in the street. Here is footage shot by one of the participants in the riot, a supporter of Michael Ben.
When they obliterate Gaza, they will wipe out 2 million Gazan Palestinians, and they don't care. I told you the feeling I had when I didn't meet him. He didn't shake my hand. I was standing next to Netanyahu, but I got a good look at him. I saw a man that absolutely cold, lifeless eyes, soulless eyes. I saw a man who could kill 2 million people and then go to dinner. Wouldn't bother him at all. Because in his mind, they're not people.
That's right.
You have to understand
beasts, savages.
They're savages. They're beasts. In his mind, the Palestinians are not people. So he has no conscience that would bother him. And we are witnessing in real time mass genocide, and hardly anybody is saying anything about it. And if you do say something about it, you will be extremely criticized. You may be shut down. They'll have a ceasefire when there's nobody left in Gaza. They will stop shooting when everybody stops breathing. That is the intention, folks. Total elimination of the Palestinian people. This is genocide. I don't care what you think about the state of Israel. No sane human with a heart can justify genocide, a complete wipeout of a people.
I mean, think of it this way. If Mexican cartels were coming into Texas and they were killing people and everything, we wouldn't wipe out Mexico City, would we?
And kill all the Mexican children.
Right.
That's the equal of what Netanyahu is doing.
We would go after who? We'd go after the cartels.
The cartels.
Right? That's the logic.
But that's not the way the Jews think. The Jews' motto is rise up and kill first. They kill everybody. They don't have a conscience about this stuff, Doc. They don't have a conscience about it because they don't believe Palestinians are people. You have to get that through your head. Everybody listen to me. They are racist. They have a racial superiority mentality, and they view the Gaza.
Well, say frankly, I'm one of the people who thinks you should be expelled from this country. And what you have done, the killings of innocent people in Gaza, the seizure of Palestinian land and so on. But the ordinary Palestinians rose up because you denied them basic rights. I lived there. It was apartheid. It was racism. It was endemic. It was rotten. Absolutely, I was shocked within weeks of living there to see how you treated Palestinian people. And isn't it the fact that the law of return, which is the basic law of the Israeli state, is a racist apartheid law because it confers rights on Jews that it denies to Palestinians. It allows, for example, if I was Jewish and had never stepped foot in Israel, I could claim citizenship there tomorrow, but 6 million people whose origins are in what you now call Israel, who were forced out in 1947 or 48, do not have that right. Isn't that part of the reason why the Palestinians are in dispute with Israelis? Because you deny them the right to return to their homes and to their land and to their villages. and that they have a legitimate claim, even under international law, to return, but you deny them that right. Why do you deny them that right? And why do you give that right to other people who have no connection whatsoever with the land, whether you call it Israel or whether you call it Palestine? Why do you continue to seize land? Why do you continue to seize land if you're serious about a two-state solution? Why do you continue to seize land, which under that agreement is land designated to be Palestinian land? 500,000 people. You allow that to happen. Why do you allow it to happen? If you're serious about giving this land to the Palestinians, are you not just taking us, Ambassador, for idiots? That you can say with a straight face, we're serious about peace, but while we're serious about peace, we're going to seize Palestinian land. Now, you know what the Palestinian people have been asking for. Far less even than some people would ask for. Because I believe the whole apartheid system should be dismantled. But what they've asked for is to lift the siege of Gaza. Just to lift the siege of Gaza. Let them not be dictated to by a government for whom they do not vote as to what can go in and out of their territories, whether they will have power, whether they will have clean water, whether they will have medicine. What makes you think you're allowed to have nuclear weapons and the fourth biggest army in the world and visit destruction on the people of Gaza, but they have no right to defend themselves? They have no territorial sovereignty over that land. Lastly, Ambassador, describe your state as a apartheid state with different laws for people depending on their race or religion. Now, isn't that just the case that, for example, at checkpoints going into the West Bank, there's a channel if you're Israeli or European, and there's a channel if you're Arab? Just because you're Arab. If you came into Dáil Éireann and they stopped you and said, "Are you Jewish?" "Oh no, sorry, you can't come in through the same entrance as Irish people or European people because you're Jewish," you would call that racism and apartheid. But yet you practice that with your Well, say frankly, I'm one of the people who thinks you should be expelled from this country, and
Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat.
Arafat himself told an Italian newspaper, quote, "Hamas is a creature of Israel." He even claimed that former Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin admitted as much to him, calling it a fatal error. Now, you might be wondering, why should I believe mad Ron Paul or the famously shady Yasser Arafat? Well, you don't have to. You can believe top Israeli and US officials who've basically owned up to all this. Brigadier Yitzhak Segev, for example, who was the Israeli military governor in Gaza, and later told a New York Times reporter that he helped finance the Islamic movement. "The Israeli government gave me a budget," he said, "and the military government gives to the mosques." Colonel David Hakam, who worked in Gaza in the late 1980s as an Arab affairs expert in the Israeli military, has admitted that the original sin was Israeli support for Yassin in the late 70s. But at the time, he has argued, nobody thought about the possible results. Well, Avner Cohen did. Cohen was the Israeli official who was responsible for religious affairs in Gaza for more than 2 decades, and who now says, quote, "Hamas, to my great regret, is Israel's creation." Yeah, Cohen's words. He actually wrote an official report to his superiors in the mid-1980s, warning them not to play divide and rule in the occupied territories and calling on Israel to, quote, "break up this monster before this reality jumps in our face."